The Mini Cooper, one of the most iconic cars in history due to its style, personality, go-kart-like abilities, and of course, its size. So when BMW announced late last year that they were making the third generation to their Mini Cooper range, I was eager to try it out. And luckily this weekend I got to do just that. This is the 2015 Mini Cooper S. This is the 3-door hatchback, 2-liter 4-cylinder engine pumping out 189 brake horsepower. Power numbers have been increased from the previous generation. Looks-wise, it is of course different from the first two generations. It has a much more open grille, much more noticeable grille. And my favorite feature though is these sort of half-moon type headlights, which look quite good. The car as a whole, the looks take some getting used to, especially sort of seeing the last two generations of Minis, which lasted over 10 years. But I quite like it, especially the headlights. Size-wise, it's a bit bigger. It's hard to notice on camera, but it is longer and taller and wider than the previous many generations. Curious to see how that feels on the road, so let's check it out. Alright, first impressions driving this thing, just to get a feel of what it would be like as an everyday car, especially on these icy and snowy roads. It's very important for a consumer, especially if you're looking to buy a hot hatch and drive it year-round in Calgary with all the winter conditions and whatnot. But yeah, first impressions, very good. Actually, I'm blown away by how well this thing handles on the ice and the snow. It doesn't ever feel like it's gonna lose control. It always feels like you're gonna get there like safely and you're not gonna slide out, and that's very impressive. Actually, it feels better almost than some all-wheel drive cars I've tested, and that's a big compliment for a front-wheel drive hot hatch, especially putting all that power down with such a light car onto the ice. They've done a very good job with how they've done that, so very impressed with how it drives so far, especially in these city conditions. This car is very comfortable as well to drive. I mean, the seats are great, the suspension's great, it's not too stiff. And overall, I just love it. I love the interior as well. It's very comfortable. It's surprisingly spacious for a Mini, but it still feels like a small, compact car. And they've got a really good balance of that going. For example, sitting with a passenger, you're not like sort of fighting for arm space anymore, as well as the back seat. Of course, the back seat's still a little tedious to get into, but once you get in there, it's actually not too bad. I owned a Mark I Mini, and it was putting two people back there, even putting one person back there was kind of a pain, but they've changed that, so it's much more usable now, I'd say. As for the interior, the rest of it, it is great. I love it. It's very fun and quirky, and I love how Mini have still managed to do that with their cars. I mean, it's got a great system. I love the heads-up display. You can change the sat-nav settings, you can change your music, you can do pretty much anything on it. And as well with this center console here, you can even change the dynamic settings of the car. For example, you can change it into, or have it in mid mode, which I am now, which is sort of like an everyday thing. If you want to be green and drive economically, you switch it to the green mode, and look what pops up here. See? Let's minimalize. Get it? Huh? No? Okay. Anyways, and then you can move it to sport, which sort of sets it up as sort of, it all goes red, and it's very cool. Let's motor hard. Got a little go-kart logo and a little rocket ship under that. It's very fun. It's very cheesy, but very fun. I love that. I really love a car with personality, and this thing checks all the boxes for that. Very impressive. I'm very impressed with this car, especially in the city setting, but you're buying a hot hatch, so you're obviously going to want to have some fun with it on some country roads. So let's do that. Alright, here we are, just popping it into sport mode here, and away we go. This is what the hot hatchback was always meant to be, an excellent everyday driver, and then a nice back road blaster for the weekends. And so far it's proven to be both of those things. I absolutely love it. It's very dynamic, and that leads me into the gearbox, because they finally got rid of those silly two-way paddles where both paddles did the same thing. It can get very confusing to drive with, and now they've ditched that for just a conventional auto where you change with the shifter if you moved into the manual mode, like so. You can have paddles, conventional ones, where the left one changes down, the right one changes up, but it is an optional extra, so there's that. But I like it so far. I mean, there's nothing wrong with changing with the stick. I do like paddles. It is a little bit more of a in-tune driving experience for an automatic, but nevertheless, it's still very good. I'm still impressed with it so far. Another thing I'm very impressed with this car is its steering. It's very sharp and direct, and it's got some great feel to it, and I like that. I really like that in a hot hatch. It isn't as sharp and as quick as the previous two generations of Minis, but it's still good enough that you can get that good performance feel out of it. It gives you nice feedback, and especially in the corners when you can just sort of chuck it in. And I really like that. Like, for example, you just sort of go up to a corner and just chuck it in. This thing is like a go-kart for sure, and I love it. I absolutely love it. It's fantastic to drive. Very impressed with this thing. I was very skeptical when they came out, and I found out it was a little bigger, but honestly, it doesn't feel that big when you're driving it. It feels very direct, and I like that quite a bit. As for the rest of the car, I like the throttle response is very good. It's sort of like there's no real turbo lag there, and that's very impressive. I'm very happy with that. As for the braking, they're a little sticky at times. It takes a little bit of time to get used to them, but you will get used to them, and it's very good. You just sort of got to learn the pedal travel and so forth, but they're good. Overall, it's a very good package. It's very sharp. In sport mode, the suspension is very sharp. It's confusing because it's a little less sharp than the previous two generations, like with the steering. But that doesn't mean it's bad. It's actually very good because it makes it more dynamic as an everyday driver, and I really, really do like that. And that's very valuable to have in a hot hatch. So overall, I'm very impressed with it. Composure's great, all of it's great, and with the engine noise, just the noise is just fantastic. If you shift down a couple times, it's very nice. It's very throaty noise, and that's fantastic. It's a lot better noise than before. So honestly, I want one. I really want one. I have a Hyundai Veloster Turbo, and it is nowhere near as good. It has a little more power, 200 horsepower to 189, but this thing makes up for it in so many ways. It's so composed in city driving and performance driving. I'm thoroughly, thoroughly impressed with this thing. It's phenomenal. It really is. So, downsides, like I said, the brakes are a little sticky, a little spongy at times. Back seats are a little tough to get into. It's not as spacious as a 4-door hatch, or as a 5-door hatchback, sorry. But there's a 5-door one of these coming out, which I hope to be testing on the program shortly. So definitely stay tuned for that. But yeah, overall verdict, I love it. I love it. I love the steering, I love the power, and I love its personality. That's the thing I've been saying this whole time, and I'll say it again and again and again. This thing is quirky, it has tons of personality, and that is my favorite thing about this car, is that it maintains that mini feel to it. So, excellent car, very impressed. What a great car that is. I love how it encourages you to have fun with it and push it hard. It's just great personality. What an amazing car. I'm thoroughly impressed with it. I was a little skeptical going into it, but it won me over. It blew me away. I'm also doing a written review of it, actually. It should be available on the website either tonight or tomorrow, challengeuniversityshow.com, under the blog section. It'll probably be available off the homepage as well, so definitely check that out. It gives a little bit more of an in-detail review of the sort of the personality aspects to it, the sat-nav, the entertainment center, gearbox, etc., etc. Anyways, thank you to Isaac and Minnie Crowfoot for helping facilitating this and lending me the car. Very much appreciated. Absolute blast out there for sure. Definitely check out Challenge University on social media, facebook.com/challengeuniversity. Follow me on Twitter @TheTivo And yeah, we're bringing out lots more content soon. There's going to be more episodes of the TiVo Show and hopefully another series of the original Challenge University as well. You heard it here first. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you soon. Cheers.